Yes, good morning guys. We are here to our topic discussion. The golden rule of interview. May check ko lang po yun. The golden rule of interview. According to this matter guys, never conduct or let anyone conduct an interview when you have not gone from at the crime scene. Sabi dito guys, huwag kayo basta-basta aalis o huwag kayo basta-basta gagawa ng isang interview o huwag nyo hayaan kung sino man nandun sa area na gumawa ng interview hanggat hindi kayo nakakalis dun sa area. No, yan po ang golden rule ng ating interviews. Yan, interview and interrogation, since this is our subject matter, they're conducted an interview. Pag sinabi natin interview guys, this is the simplest form of conducting of investigation. Magkaiba kasi pagdating sa interrogation. Pag sa interrogation, there have a lot of techniques that we have need to conduct an interrogation. And also, interrogation, pag sinabi natin, alam naman natin, ito yung medyo gumagawa na tayo ng mga bagay na kailangan natin upang mapaamin yung mga kriminal. Interview, sabi dito guys, is the questioning of a person believed to possess information that is relevant to the investigation of criminal activities. Ito po guys, kapag mag-interview, pag nandun ka sa area, diba? Kanda ka ng briefing o idea dun sa mga witnesses natin, no? Not to the point na parang ipipressure natin sila, but we are gathering of information relevant to the investigation that we are handle it. It is a simplest question or simple questioning of a person believed to possess of information that is relevant to the investigation of a crime or criminal activity. In an interview, the interviewee is willing and cooperative with the investigator. We always to do guys na dapat cooperative yung witnesses natin. Huwag natin silang hayaan na cooperative ba? Kasi minsan kasi may mga witnesses na not willing to interview. Wag ganun guys, huwag niyo pilitin. Kasi baka mapasama kayo dun. And also, the simple friendly questioning of people who have information officially needed by investigation or the investigators. Siyempre, simple lang guys. Meron po ba kayong alam dito sa ganitong area kung ano, bakit ganito? Bakit siya napatay? Meron po ba kayong makilala na kasamaan niya ng loob? Meron po ba siyang nakaaway bago siya namatay? Diba? Ganun, simplest question lang guys. Huwag yun, kayo po ba, alam niyo po ba kung sino yung pumatay dito? Huwag ganun guys. That interview is a simple question that needed to the investigation itself. Kasi pag masyado ka aggressive, hindi makikipag-cooperate doon sa area yung mga witnesses na nakakita ng crime na yun. Qualities of a good interview. Number one is the rapport. It is the relationship between the interviewer and the interviewee, which is conducive to fruitful result. It is a winning the confidence of a person being interviewed. So guys, pag rapport, ibig sabihin, we have a relationship between the interviewer, and interview. Doon sa tinatanong at nagtatanong. Kasi guys, kapag hindi pasok yung area o hindi pasok o hindi sila magka-vibes, mangyari, hindi tayo magkakaroon ng magandang resulta sa interview natin. So, we need to have a personal relationship between the ini-interview natin. Kasi pag wala tayong ganun guys, o wala tayong good, pleasant personality na tinatawag natin, or good relationship to our community itself, dun sa investigation process natin, ang mangyayari niyan guys, hindi sila makipag-cooperate sa iyo at wala ka makukuhang resulta dun sa ginawa mong interview at the crime scene. Forcefulness of personality. According to this, the appearance of an interviewer and the other qualities such as skills of communication and technique or the force of his language are the mainstays of the strength of his characters. Minsan guys, sa ating as an interviewer, nasa sarili natin. The way we communicate to other people, the way we conduct an interview ay nasa sarili din natin. we are here to our personality, no? Kasi guys, meron talaga mga interviewer guys na unang kita mo pa lang sa kanya, tapos magtanong pa lang sa'yo, eh parang mape-persuade ka na magsabi ng kung anong nakita mo. Meron mga ganun. Meron din mga interviewer guys na o mga investigator na to na tinatawag natin, unang kita mo pa lang sa kanya, takot ka na magbigay ng impormasyon, no? Kaya nga minsan ang nilalagay dito is a good, pleasant personality, yung kaaya-aya tingnan. Di ba? Yung mga sales agent natin sa mga companies sa SM, pleasant personality, yan ang kinukuha nila. Para mas kaaya-ayang lumapit yung mga customer. Ganon din yan po sa investigator o investigation process na tinatawag natin. So that they, yung ini-interview, eh, mas madali silang makipaghalubilo o mas naaakit sila dun sa investigator kasi mas tiwala sila dun sa itsura nun. Uy, ito maayos to. Eh, pagdating nyo sa kabila, ay, ayoko niyan. Parang babanatan ako niyan. Yung mga ganong senaryo, di ba? Yan. Report, the confront, evidence, emotion, and collaborate. No? We need to that, we need this process that we are need to our report. Yan, sa forceful personality yan. Diba? Pagdating sa, ito kasi, ito ay sa military concept na tinatawag natin. Yan. In order to manipulate those subordinate, we need to be strict. But in interview, guys, magkaiba po. We need to persuade our ini-interview para magbigay sila ng mga nalalaman nila tuon sa crime scene. Knowledge of human behavior. This will help the interviewer to determine the personality and intelligence of his subject. He must go down and up to the level of understanding of his particular subject. In our curriculum, guys, we have here, no? Meron tayong tinatawag na human behavior na subject matter. Human behavior, dito natin malalaman yung personality ng isang tao. If they are cooperative or non-cooperative, the way they talk, the way the body language, the way kung paano sila magpaliwanag, eh malalaman kagad natin. Because we can, here at Criminology, we conduct ang human behavior subject, no? Yan, tinuro sa inyo kung ito ba isang narcissistic, borderline personality, mga ganong bagay, di ba? Malalaman kagad natin. We need to have a knowledge in human behavior in order to have a good interview in conducting personal interview in the crime scene. Laking tulong niya guys kasi malalaman mo kaagad kung isang witnesses mo ay nagsisinungaling o hindi. Conversational tone of the voice and his tone of voice must be conversational, not confrontational, as interrogation. It means that the interviewer must know how to appropriately use his voice normally. Ito guys, pag sa interview guys, dapat malumanay, kalmado. Pero sa interrogation kasi very confrontational yan guys. Direct to the point, ikaw bang pumatay? But ayaw mo umamin. Sa interview, meron ka bang nalalaman dito? Meron ka bang alam kung sinong sa tingin mong pumatay dito sa tao na to? Yan, ganyan. Pero sa interrogation, very direct to the point guys. Confrontational, di ba? Ikaw ba ang pumatay? Bakit hindi mo sinasabi kung sinong pumatay? Yan, sa interrogation. Napakalaking differentiate nila sa interview na tinatawag natin. Common interest, his preliminary and proving question should aim to establish a common interest between him and the subject. Pag sinabi natin common interest, guys, yung preliminary and proving question should aim to establish common interest between him and subject. Sorry guys, wala ako kasi mayroong magano. Ibig sabihin guys, yung mga pinag-uusapan nyo ay parehas kayo ng interest, no? Kasi guys, kapag ang isang tao, pag non-cooperative siya, kailangan mo makuha yung interest niya dun sa pinag-uusapan ninyo. Pag nakuha mo yung common interest yun ng bawat isa, makikipag-cooperate na siya. The non-cooperative will be cooperative to you. That is our common interest. Yan guys, sa ating mga sample pictures, knowledge of behavior, yan, tingnan nyo. Dito pa lang, pagpunta kayo sa isang area o sa isang mataong lugar, minsan, tingnan nyo guys, tingnan nyo yung paligid nyo. No? Makikita nyo, ito, medyo, ito, pleasing personality. Mahilig siya maipag-usap, nakukuha niya yung intention ng ibang tao. Ito parang galit, parang hindi siya naniniwala sa kwento nento. Diba? May mga ganong tao. You as a criminology student guys, you need to be observant sa mga bagay-bagay. Lalong-lalo na guys kapag pagdating ng oras sa panahon na kayo ay pupunta sa ibang lugar, you need to be observant kasi meron kasi mga culture na hindi natin pwedeng tawag nito yung baliwalain, no? Kasi pag binaliwala natin yan guys at hindi natin inayos yung tinatawag nating yung hindi tayo observant, meron tayong mga nalalabag, di ba? Ganon din yan sa human behavior o dito sa investigation natin process. We need to have a proper conduct of human behavior or knowledge in our human behavior so that we can communicate to the interests of other people. Yan. So we need yan, pag dito sa interview guys, parang anong nangyari dito, yan, sa boys pala. Una, sabi ng doktor dito, you will need a dog ectomy after all. Why do you sound so sad about it? Whoops! Wrong time. Wrong tone, sabi niya. Dito naman, parang nagana na siya. Iba na siya. You will need a dog ectomy after all. Dito guys kasi, pero magkaiba to guys sa interrogation. Dito sa sample picture natin, mahina yung tone niya. Ibig sabihin, parang hindi siya nasisiyahan sa resulta. Pero dito, masaya siya. Ibig sabihin, maganda. Good impact yan. Pero sa ating interview, we need to have a tone na sakto lang. No, hindi confrontational, hindi malakas, hindi nakakatakot, sakto lang. Pero sa interrogation kasi, you need to be aggressive na tinatawag natin so that we can have a good result also. Kasi minsan guys, merong mga suspect kasi yung guys, minsan ginagamit. Merong mga suspect na kailangan mong gamitan ng interrogation process so that we can have a proper result regarding the incident happened. Pero tandaan nyo guys, meron po tayong tinatawag na proper way of interrogation so that we can do a good result. Kasi minsan guys, napaamin mo nga siya. Pero according to the rule of the court, that's not valid. Meron yan. Makikita natin yan dito. Yan. Need to have a good report or common interest, no? Parang sa pagluluto, kung mahilig siya magluto, dapat ganun ka rin. Ganun din sa investigation. Kung common interest nyo ay maglaro ng basketball, kwentuhan mo ng mga ganun. Tapos, hayaan mong maging komportable siya sa'yo. Atakihin mo ng question regarding the incident happened. Sorry, inisip mo na ako guys. Acting qualities naman tayo guys. He must possess the qualities of an actor, salesman, and psychologist, and know how to use the power of persuasion. Siyempre, as investigator, kailangan magaling din tayong aktor, no? Kasi guys, kapag hindi tayo magaling na actor, hindi natin sila mape-persuade na magsabi ng totoo, na maipag-cooperate sa atin. We have to be a salesman also, para kami binibentang produkto. Ngayong itong ini-interview mo, sa sobrang na-persuade mo, nakabili na produkto mo. Ganon din yan sa investigation. Pag binenta mo siya, makakakuha ka ng magandang resulta. As a psychologist also, as a part of our curriculum na sinabi ko kanina, knowledge of human behavior is very important to know the body language of the person, the way they talk, the way they communicate to you. Ay alam mo kagad kung siya ay nagsasabi ng totoo o hindi. Humility. He must possess the courteous, sympathetic, and humble, ready to ask apologies for the inconvenience of the interview. As a investigator also, guys, you need to become a courteous. Maging magalang ka, syempre. In a systematic and humble. Diba? Kasi minsan, minsan nagkakamali tayo, diba? Minsan, gagalit tayo. Pero sa galit natin, always remember to be yung respect na tinatawag natin. Be humble. Kahit meron siyang sinasabi yung interview mo na ganito siya, mayaman siya, isa siyang sikat na artista, makinig ka lang. Humble ka lang din. Huwag mong sabihin yung pag-aralan mo. Huwag mong sabihin kung ano ka rin. Pero, makinig ka sa kanya. Kasi, the way we communicate to each other, malalaman natin. Yan. Kasi, nasasabi niya na lahat, guys. And you, as a person, you as an interviewer, huwag kang makikisabat ka agad doon. Be courteous and humble. Hayaan mo siya. And also, a part of the investigator o investigation process, makakuha ka ng maraming information. Yan, sa ating guys, acting qualities natin, di ba? You have to be an actor. Yan, how humility fuel success. Tandaan nyo guys, ang isang humility na tinatawag natin o pagiging mababang loob. Kahit anong taas ng lipad mo, pero kung ikaw sa sarili mo, you are very humble, may kitungo pa rin sa simpleng tao. Di ba? Yung mga ganong mga tao, kahit gaano kataas ang pinag-aralan, they communicate to each other na parang simple lang. The stages of interview, number 1 is preparation. Before the interview, the investigator should exhaustively review the facts at the crime scene and all relevant information from other sources so he will be well ready for the interview. Tandaan nyo guys, we need to have a preparation in conducting of interview. Para kasing sumabak niyan guys, huwag kang sasabak sa gera na wala kang bala. Diba? Ganun yan. Ganun din yan sa preparation of interview. Huwag kang sasabak sa isang crime scene investigation or crime scene situation na hindi ka ready. You need to be prepared. Approach. The investigator must carefully select his kind of approach which may be single kind, a combination of two, or the application of all techniques. Yan, yung sa different types of approach na diniscuss natin, di ba? Doon na mga nauna, yan, acting qualities, the way the report, yan, yung forceful personality. Depende kung anong gusto nyong gamitin. O depende kung anong type of the witnesses that we are conducting of interview. And also guys, dito sa interview, pwede rin natin gamitin to guys sa mga suspect natin. Pero magkaibang process. Warming up. This is done by preliminary or exploratory question to clear the atmosphere, promote a conducive ground friendship, respect, and trust with each other. Yan guys. Siyempre, kailangan muna natin tingnan kung sino in-interview natin so that we have a good atmosphere. No? We need to have a friendly situation na guys. Sorry. We need to have a respect and trust to each other. No? Yan ang kailangan natin. Ayan, cognitive interview. In this stage, the subject is asked to narrate his account without interruption, intervention, or interference. Pag nagsasalita na yung interview natin guys, meron ng common interest yan. Na-persuade mo na siya. Ngayon, hayaan mo lang siya magsalita. Kasi kapag in-interrupt mo siya, mangyari niyan. Imbis na naalala niyo yung event na nangyari doon sa crime scene, dahil sa in-interrupt mo siya, hindi niya na maaalala. At hindi niya na mabibigay yung mga informasyon na kailangan mo. Diba? So that we need to have a cognitive interview. Wait lang. Rules of questioning, guys. Dito tayo. One question at a time. Multiple complex legalistic questions should be avoided. One question at a time is deserved. Tandaan nyo, guys. Isang tanong, isang sagot. Kasi kapag minsan, guys, sa interview natin, kapag masyado kang maraming tanong, hindi pa tapos yung sinasabi ng ini-interview mo, tinanong mo na naman kaagad, balilito siya dun. No? Conflict of interest ang mangyayari dyan. Avoid implied answers. The nodding of the head or any other body language as a response to the question should be avoided. The answer must be oral or clear, explicit, and responsive to the questions. Pag tinanong nyo, guys, yung in-interview nyo, tapos ang sagot lang sa inyo, ninad lang kayo ng head. Oh, ganyan lang kayo ng head niya. Huwag nyo tanggapin yan. That is a body language. Hindi naman pipi ang in-interview nyo, di ba? Yan. Kasi meron, guys, kung meron, sabihin natin yung in-interview nyo, meron siyang deaf, or hindi siya makarinig. Yan. Or, the way he communicate is a body language. Kailangan nyo na interpreter dyan. Pero kapag normal naman yung in-interview nyo, huwag nyo hayaang ganun lang ang gawin sa inyo. Kasi, imbis na makakuha kayo na information na kailangan ninyo, mas malilito kayo niyan. Avoid implied answer. Yan. One at a time of question. Pag masyadong maraming information o masyadong maraming tanong yung sinasabi sa'yo, malilito ka na yan. Ngayon, magkakaroon ka ng disinterested dun sa nag-i-interview sa'yo. Avoid full questions. Siyempre, avoid natin, guys, yung mga wala namang kwentang question na itanatanong mo dun sa ini-interview mo. Simplicity of question. A short and simple question at a time is required. If the answer need qualification, then it should be allowed. Avoid legalistic questions such as who is the murderer? Are you the robber or swindler? Or who is the conspirator of the suspect? Yan. Avoid natin yan, guys, kasi pag yan ang ginamit mo, yung sinong pumatay, alam mo ba kung sino yung nagnakaw? Iba na yan. Pasok yun sa interrogation. Simple question lang ang kailangan natin dito sa interview. Saving faces. Embarrassing question about the subject or on matters pertaining to the exaggeration of honest and errors about the time, distance, and description can be avoided if the investigator assists him to save face. To avoid ridicule, he will only insult the subject and will withdraw his participation in an interview. Dito sa suspect natin, guys, we conduct a yan, guys, so dito sa suspect natin, we conduct an investigation. Yan, sa interview. Huwag yung pabago-bago na itsura nyo, guys. No? O, kumbaga, alam mo na sa sarili mo yung sagot. Pero, the way you communicate to the ini-interview mo, nakikita niya, guys, na alam mo na kagad. Yan ang mangyayari niyan. Diba? Siyempre, imbis na magsabi siya sa'yo ng totoo, yan, honest errors, ang mangyari niyan, guys, hindi na siya makikipag-cooperate sa'yo ng gusto. Ngayon, iilag siya sa ibang question mo. Yes or no answer? Do not ask question that could be answered only by yes or no. It will curtail the complete flow of information and will lead to inaccuracies. Huwag kayo, guys, gagawa ng question na yes or no lang yun pwedeng isagot niya. Make it sure kapag gagawa kayo ng question pertaining to the investigation process, make it sure yung magsasalita talaga siya. Hindi yung yes sir, yes no sir, No, hindi natin kailangan yan. Kailangan natin information, valid information that we are conducting. Kasi kapag hindi natin ginawa yan guys, ang mangyayari niyan, hindi sa maipag-cooperate siya sa atin. Yes or no lang ang ibibigay niya sa atin. We need to have a proper questioning process. Type of witnesses, yan. Mayroong mga type of witnesses guys. Knowing nating type, this is the reluctant type of witnesses. They are found among the uneducated and low level of intelligence. Yan. Yung mga mababang intelligence at tinatanong natin dito guys sa witnesses natin. Pag tinanong mo, wala akong alam dyan sir. Hindi ko alam yan. Pero ay pakita niya na yung pangyayari guys ha. Meron mga ganyan. Hindi ko alam yan sir. Because the way they communicate or the way they found the crime, hindi nila ma-process ba. Yan yung know nothing type. Disinterested type from the word itself. This is the uncooperative and indifferent subject. Walang interest. Hindi siya masyadong interest dun sa gagawin mong interview. Drunken type. The style of questioning by investigator should be adapted to the psychology of the subject. When a drunken subject suffered, another interview will be conducted. Pag dito sa drunken type na tinatawag natin guys, in our psychology subject, we need to have kung hindi mo care area ito, ibigay mo dun sa ibang interviewer para magkaroon ng resulta ng ginawa nyo interview. Talkative type, these are witnesses who are prone to exaggerate, adding irrelevant or new matters to their narration. Ito, masyado naman madaldal. Kanina, disinterested type, dito masyado madaldal. Marami ng information na binibigay sa inyo. Which is maganda, pero make it sure all the information that we are collecting is relevant to the crime scene investigation. Kasi minsan, madaldal lang sila pero wala namang kwenta. Wala namang kinalaman dun sa ginawa natin process. Yan. Know nating type. Disinterested type. Drunken type. And talkative type. Saan ba kayo dyan? Baka ikaw to. O ikaw ito. Or ito. Or yan. That is guys, sample picture lang. At honest witness, this is a truthful and cooperative witness where the investigator could rely upon with detail or no problem in dealing with them. Ito, pag honest witness, yan, lahat na nakita niya, sinasabi niya na totoo. And, upon the investigation process, yung sinabi niya dun sa area, may CCTV sa area, di ba? Tugma dun sa ginawa niyang sinabi niya sa inyo. That will be our honest witness. Yan, kabaliktaran na naman nito, deceitful witness. This is the liar of type of witnesses. Let them lie and order them to repeat their narration. There will be enmesh in contradictions. Yan. Pag deceitful witness, alam naman natin, lying. No? Timid witness, they are the shy type guys. Type witness, the approach must be friendly and reassuring confidentiality of their offered information. Pag shy type guys, ito yung mga mahiyain. So, ang approach natin dito, we need to be friendly. So that they can, tawag natin, ma-persuade natin sila para makipagtulungan dun sa interview process natin. Boosting, egoistic, or egocentric witness. They will be good witness because of their ability to expressing their accounts about the commission of the crime. The investigator must be patient in dealing with them so as not to hit or override their ego or self-pride. Pag dito naman guys, as investigator, you need to be proper observe yung the way we talk. Kasi minsan, kapag meron kang nasabi sa kanila na hindi maganda, their ego na tinatawag natin, ay maapektuhan. Ngayon, pag naapektuhan yun, hindi na sila makipag-cooperate sa'yo. Refusal to talk witness, these are the most difficult kind of witness to deal with. Find out the reason of their silence and his refusal. Maybe the causes are trauma, shock, fear, hatred, in others. Ito sa refusal to talk witness is very... kasi minsan guys, kunyari, for rape victim, ayaw na nila maalala kung anong nangyari. Kaya nagkakaroon na ng refusal to talk. So, ang mangyayari niyan guys, mahirapan tayong umanap ng ebidensya. O mahirapan tayong gumawa ng proper way of investigation kapag nagkaroon sila na refusal to talk. So that we need to have a persuasive type of a investigator para maipagtulungan sila. Yan. Honest witness. Nothing but that do. Lahat ng sasabihin ay tama lang. Pag di yan, shy type. Yan, the way of our interrogation process. Refusal to talk. Common reason why witnesses refuse to talk and testify. Ano ba yung mga reason kung bakit nga ba ang ating mga witnesses ay nagre-refuse na magsabi ng kanilang nalalaman o mag-testify sa court? Fear of reprisal. The fear of reprisal is always entertained by witnesses who lack the courage to face the suspect, his associate, or relatives. Takot guys to kasi ayaw nyo makita yung mga pamilya ng suspect o yung reaksyon ng mga relatives nito. Ayaw nyo ganun. Diba? Meron mga ganyan guys. Lalo na guys kapag ang victim is yung battle word syndrome na tinatawag natin. Takot na yan kasi kunyari mag-asawa kayo tapos yung suspect na gumawa sa'yo ng krimen, syempre may ilang ka, diba? Tapos sa relatives niya. Great inconvenience. Pag sinabi natin great inconvenience on the part of those hands to mouth existence. This really inconvenience that will deprive them the time to earn for their living, especially during the ordeal of testifying during the trial. Ngayon, kapag dito sa great inconvenience guys, dito pag sa great inconvenience, may mga trabaho sila, di ba? Ayaw nilang makipag-cooperate kasi guys, maapektuhan nga naman yung trabaho nila. Imbes na kumita sila, kung mangyayari niyan, hindi na sila kikita. Buti ba kung babayaran ng gobyerno, yun nawala sa kanila. Hatred against the police, they may be due to previous and bad experience with a rude member of the PAP. Meron mga ganyan. Na palo ng jantok. Diba? Yung sa sobrang kulit, meron kasi minsan mga pasaway na mga kabataan. Napalo ng jantok o kaya nabugbog ng pulis sa sobrang yabang. Na meron mga ganito. Pero meron din talaga mga police guys na not all the PNP personnel. But alam naman natin, nakikita naman natin sa balita guys, diba? Nagre-refuse na silang mag-talk because the hatred of the police. Hindi natin maiwasan. Hindi maiwasan yan guys na meron silang hatred. Kaya yun nilang maging part of the investigation process. Refuse to talk na sila. Kapag nangyari yan guys, syempre mahirap, di ba? Mahirap sa part ng PNP kasi they are the one that conducting investigation. Primary sila kung initiator na investigation process. Pero kung NBI, yan, pwede naman siguro. Yan. Fear of reprisal, and common inconvenience, may trabaho, syempre disappointing naman. Kung pupunta pa siya sa trial, wala naman siya mapapala. Meron mga ganyan guys eh. Katulad sa amin guys, meron kaming ganyan. Yung classmate ko, nakahuli siya ng shabu dun sa gate. Maliit lang, siguro 0.3 grams. Ang nahulihan niya is lalamove driver. Nilagay sa spaghetti. Tapos nilagay sa ilalim yung shabu. Ang nangyari, syempre, the process will be done. Nakulong yung lalamove driver. 6 months yata rin yun. Ngayon, naghahatid siya ng hearing. Because of the great inconvenience, hindi na masyado na atin ng classmate ko yung hearing. Kasi, Siyempre, a part of his job, eh, naapektuhan. Pero meron kaming OB, official business. Pero minsan kasi nakakawa na rin yung Grab driver. Parang ayun natin, eh, siyempre, yan ang mahirap guys. Kapag kayo guys kung sino man ang rider dito, Lalamove driver, Grab driver, any kind of driver na application, make it sure guys, lahat ng kinukuha niyang package is safe. Kasi hindi nyo alam, shabu na pala yung dinideliver nyo. Damay kayo dyan guys, sa totoo lang. Yan, hatred of the police. Basis of the witness. The witness may be acquaintance, friend, helper, or benefactor of the suspect. All of these other relationship of the witness to the suspect must be explored so that an intelligent approach is properly. Minsan, sa witnesses natin, syempre kaibigan nyo yung suspect. Alam na mga minsan kasi, yan ang great in fact yan guys, kung kaibigan nyo, best friend nyo yung suspect. Yung relationship nila kasi maapektuhan. Kaya hindi siya nakipag-cooperate or if siya sa magbigay ng information sa trial. Publicity avoidance, syempre ito. There are the witness who are shy type, then they shy publicity that will bring discomfort to their ordinary or obscure way of living. The investigator must hide this witness away from the reporters and others Martes-like individuals. Publicity avoidance, syempre guys, kapag nga naman harap siya sa trial, sa mga rape cases, di ba? Yan, ayaw nila guys na, syempre, as a victim, di ba? Nakakaya naman na mag-publicity trial ka. Uy, ito yung na-rape po, ito yung na-rape ng 10 lalaki, 5 lalaki, ganyan. Nakakaya yun. Parang ginusto nyo naman siguro, pokpok naman siguro yung mga ganyang mga comment na marites natin, di ba? Nakakaya. Kaya ang nangyari, imbis na mag-witness sila, eh magre-refuse na lang sila. And the investigation will be closed. Yun ang minsan ang nangyari dyan. Kaya we need to have a persuasion or persuade as a investigator. You need to persuade them in order to cooperate. Yan. Sample natin guys sa conviction of child witness. Family restrictions. Some famous and respective families preserve their reputation by instilling to the member the need to seek approval first on matters affecting their families. The investigator must talk to the elders for the approval for them to testify. Siyempre, family restriction, for example, mayaman yung pamilya, kilalang tao. Siyempre, as a kilalang tao, ayaw nating masira yung pangalan natin. Ganon din po yan dito sa ating investigation process. Ayaw nila basta-basta mag-testify yung family member nila. Kasi pag nag-testify yun, baka makasira dun sa reputasyon ng pamilya. Bago i-try, religious, racial, tribal, o ethnic indifferences. Yan, siyempre, ayaw rin nila masira yung religion nila. For example, yung pastor, for example lang to na-rape niya yung subordinate niya o yung nananampalataya sa kanila. Siyempre, as a part of the victim, ayaw niya masira yung religious worship na nangyayari dun sa kanilang area. Ngayon, hindi na siya magte-testify. That is one of the reasons refuse to talk or testify in trial. Cultish indoctrination. Some cults or religious denominations exercise religious or moral influence on decision of witnesses to testify. It will be more apparent when the witness and the suspect belong to the same cult. You as a investigation process itself, diba? Sa kultura natin, meron kasi may mga kultura guys na hindi natin alam na pwede pala sa kanila yun. Diba? Pero sa iba, bawal. Ngayon, ayaw mong masira yung kultura nyo, ayaw mong mabulgar yung kultura nyo, nagre-refuse ka mag-talk. Diba? Ayaw mong mag-testify. Yan lang naman yung mga reason dyan. Yan, family restriction, yan, violence of hate. Yan, sa culture natin, o sa religious belief natin, yan, we are here in our interrogation. But before we do that, meron tayong sample videos regarding this matter. Muna tayo sa interview before.
Hello, my name is Lauren Charbonne, and I'm here with Barbara Carr to talk about investigative interviewing and cause analysis. Our speaker today, Barbara, comes from Tactuit Technology.
And I'm really excited to talk about interviewing today because interviewing style really does impact evidence collection. And the thing is, most investigators have little to no formal instruction about how to conduct an effective interview. But people evidence, which is information collected from witnesses, is one of the primary sources of evidence in a workplace incident investigation. So we want to be effective at that. And we can see on this slide here that an ineffective interview results in less quality and quantity of information about an incident. You'll have a witness sitting there not really offering up a lot of information, and the little bit of information that they will offer up won't be very helpful to the investigation. Then the root causes are developed from little or unreliable evidence. And in a root cause analysis, in an incident investigation, 70% of an investigator's time should be devoted to evidence collection because it's not a fact unless there's some supporting evidence that proves that it is a fact. So these are really important things to keep in mind because the reason we're conducting an investigation is because we want effective corrective actions and we don't want any repeated incidents. So I want to share with you today a tip about being a better interviewer, and that is what I believe is the number one investigative interviewing skill. And you may have already guessed what that is, but it's active listening. And by active listening, I define that as a structured form of listening and responding that focuses the attention on the speaker. So that would be focusing the attention on the witness. So let's dive into this a little bit. First, I would recommend that everybody take a few minutes to take a self-assessment to decide how good is your active listening skills. You can see here there are 8 points on this self-assessment. And the first one is, I listen without interrupting or finishing another sentences. So what do you think about that? Are you the type of interviewer that can listen to a witness tell the story, or are you wanting to jump in and ask more questions? Because that can really interrupt a interviewee's train of thought, and we'll talk about that, all of these things on the next slide, but let's just run through the assessment right now. The second thing is, I am comfortable with long pauses in conversation. That's easier said than done, and when I'm talking about long pauses, I'm not talking about sitting there for a minute. I'm just talking about being comfortable with a 4 or 5 second pause, because sometimes a witness wants to give information, but they need a few minutes to think about things. And so we need to allow them that pause. How about number 3? I don't tune out. When you're a lot of the investigators that we work with at Taproot, investigating incidents, it's just one thing. It's one job responsibility for them. It's not their main job responsibility. So they have a lot of things on their mind. They're busy professionals, and it's really easy to start thinking about the next thing that you have to do. Number 4, avoiding distractions when listening. And I would recommend, and studies prove, take that cell phone, turn it off, and put it in a drawer. Even if it's turned off, if it's in front of you, You're going to be distracted by it. Research has proven that over and over. Everybody has a cell phone. Put it in the drawer. Number 5, responding appropriately when someone is talking to let them know that you're listening. Talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Number 6, are you patient? I mean, patience is a skill that we have to practice because we're kind of in a very fast society where things have to get done really fast and technology has just sped it up. So are you a patient person? Number 7, when someone is speaking, are you listening and not thinking of your next question or comment? That's a really hard one, especially if you've been studying all the evidence that you've gathered thus far in preparation of this interview. You probably have a few ideas and maybe some biases about what happened. Number 8, are you aware of your nonverbal messages as well as those displayed by others? So when we're talking about body language, we're not just talking about the witness, but we're talking about our own. What messages are we sending as well? So let's talk about the tips and tricks if you didn't do well in the inventory that can help you become a better active listener. And number 1, don't exhibit rude behavior. So what are some behaviors that we're talking about? We're talking about, interrupting the interview, like I talked about on the inventory, talking over the interviewee, looking distracted, looking at your cell phone, looking at your computer, multitasking, doing something else while you're trying to interview the interviewee. Make sure that you're in a space that you're not going to be interrupted and that people know that you're conducting an interview so you won't be interrupted, and give that witness the respect that they deserve as they come in there to tell you this information. Number 2, allow the interviewee to pause and think without interrupting. Again, this is so critical. You have to become comfortable with the 4 to 5 second pause. And you can practice this in your daily life with other people that you work with or even with your family. Just allowing people to talk, because sometimes we think an interviewee is not wanting to participate when really we are pushing ourselves on the witness too much, and we're not allowing them that time to pause and think about what's happening. Number 3 tip is staying present. So I mentioned on the inventory, it's really easy to get distracted and not understand what's going on. But if you visualize the story that the interviewee is telling you, just like playing a movie in your head, that will help you stay tuned in and stay present to the story that they're telling you. Turn the cell phone off. I said that, put it out of sight on the last slide. And give the interviewee regular feedback, such as an occasional and real-time or an okay. But be careful not to give the interviewee feedback like right, because when you say words like right, then the interviewee is going to think, oh, I'm on the right path. So that may kind of bias their thinking or what they tell you from that point forward, because overall, a witness wants to be helpful in an incident investigation and they want to be right. So you don't want to influence them in any way by giving them an idea that they are on the right track. You just want to give a very neutral response like or okay. And remember, try not to be reactionary. Sometimes when you're listening to a witness tell a story, it will elicit a little excitement, especially since you prepared for the interview and you might have an idea or a hypothesis of what's going on. But you really don't know until you gather the evidence what's going on. So instead of being reactionary and giving automatic responses, just continue to practice that pause. If you don't learn anything else from this webinar, please remember to don't interrupt and practice that pause. That's going to make your interviews go so much more smoothly. And, this is kind of old-fashioned advice. Listen with the intent to understand, not the intent to reply, because you want to hear what the witness's story is. And you're not going to know that unless you give them a chance to tell it. So listen with the intent to understand and see things from their perspective and not to reply. And then finally, notice that nonverbal communication. So what are you able to detect from your witness, from their expression? So look around their eyes. Is there Is there a wrinkle between in their forehead? Look at the side of their mouth. Can you see their jawline? Are they, gritting their teeth? The slope of their shoulders? Are their shoulders up by their ears, or are their shoulders down and relaxed? And what you're really looking to notice is whether the interviewee is comfortable or uncomfortable. So at the beginning of an interview, everybody's a little bit uncomfortable, but as you allow the witness to tell the story, if they become more and more uncomfortable, that's kind of a flag for you to question that and think, I wonder why they are becoming more and more uncomfortable. What you want, ideally, is to see the witness become more and more comfortable. That means that the memories are coming easier for them, that they're pretty confident in what they're saying. And keep in mind, too, that you can't tell whether an interviewee is lying or not by their body language. All you can really tell is, are they comfortable with what they're talking about, or are they not comfortable with what they're talking about? So keep that in mind, and watching your own nonverbal communication, too, because if you are being very closed off, if you're crossing your arms, if you have a furrow on your brow too, and you're looking at the interviewee like that, that's going to intimidate them a little bit. So try to have a pleasant expression, make good eye contact, relax your shoulders down from your ears, and see what that interviewee has for you, what they're going to say, what kind of evidence they're going to give you to complete your incident investigation. So the benefits of active listening are so important. Again, I believe that this is the number one skill, and it seems pretty intuitive, but people don't do it. People don't understand what active listening is, or they're going into the interview with a whole bunch of questions instead of asking the interviewee, tell me from start to finish what you observed that day, and then just being quiet and listening and encouraging that interviewee by doing things like saying, or repeating back what the interviewee says so that they feel comfortable to keep talking. And this helps us to understand the witness's perspective, because that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for a confirmation of our perspective, because that's a biased investigation. We want to understand the witness's perspective. We want to understand what the witness saw. And until we hear the story of what they saw, then we don't know what probing questions to ask at the end of the interview. So this builds rapport, and rapport is something that people overlook. And in the Taproot 12-step process, we spend about 3 or 4 steps just building rapport. And I'm just talking about maybe 5 or 10 minutes, because rapport creates trust. And then the witness feels more comfortable in sharing information. And in the end, what we really want is to collect better quantity of information. We want to fill in that sequence of events so that we can start identifying problems and running them for root causes. We're allowing the interviewee time to think, remember, and speak, and that's how we get a better quantity of information. And moreover, we collect a better quality of information. So we're giving the interviewee time to think about things, so they're having better recall. And science tells us that if we're not pushing people, if we're allowing them to tell the story and go back into their memory, the quality of information that they're going to recall is going to be a lot better. And we're not influencing the interviewee's responses. So essentially, that is the tip that I brought for you today, just to sharpen up your investigation interviewing skills by learning how to be a better active listener.
Great. Thank you so much, Barbara.
Yung guys, no, so yung ating part of interview. Mga additional regarding our interview. Wait lang. Now we're here, guys, interrogation. Pag sinabi nating interrogation, guys, this is a partner of interview. Interview and interrogation. An interrogation, guys, the vigorous or aggressive questioning of a person suspected of having committed an offense of a person who is reluctant or willing to make a full disclosure of information in his possessions, which is pertinent to the investigation of criminal case. Interrogation, aggressive na to guys. Not interview kasi guys, karaniwan ang in-interview natin witnesses. But in interrogation, suspect na po ang in-interview natin dito. Hindi po natin kailangan maging sobrang kalmado dito. Because a lot of suspect na tinatawag natin guys at not cooperative also. And that is the process that we need to have an interrogation. This interrogation is a big help to identify those suspect that we are needed na most. Diba? Naalala po ba natin yung case doon sa online seller? Diba? Pinano ko sa inyo yun, yung reaction regarding that matter. Hindi naman po makukuha ng ating law enforcement agencies lahat ng kanilang primary suspect if they are not conducted an interrogation also. That interrogation, big help para mas ma-identify yung mga suspect na kailangan dun sa kaso. And also, interrogation is the skillful questioning of a hostile person suspecting of having committed an offense or of a subject who is reluctant to make a full disclosure of information in his possessions, which is pertinent to the investigation process. Also, in our investigation guys, sa interrogation natin, we need to have a skillful questioning. This is skillful questioning na tinatawag natin guys, will big help pagdating sa ating investigation process. Kasi pag meron tayong skillful questioning na tinatawag natin guys, pag tinatawag natin skillful questioning guys, is madali nating makuha yung area natin. At mas madali nating malaman kung ano yung information na kailangan natin dun sa suspect. Yan, interrogation process. Purpose of interrogation on suspect is to obtain a confession or admission. Confession of admission. Letter B, on uncooperative, reluctant, on unwilling witness is to obtain reluctant information he or she possesses. No? Pag uncooperative na po yung suspect natin, kailangan natin ng interrogation. Number 1, obtain natin yung confession o pag-admin mismo ng suspect. Confession distinguish between admission. Ano ba pag ginagaiba ng confession at admission? Pag sinabi natin confession guys, is a direct acknowledgement of guilt arising from the commission of the crime. Direct acknowledgement na to guys. Direct ang pag-amin dun sa nagawa niyang kasalanan o nagawa niyang pangyayari dun sa area. Admission, pag admission naman guys, kabaliktaran to ni confession. It is acknowledgement of fact of circumstances without accepting guilt. Guilt may be inferred in. Ibig sabihin na ito guys, inamin niya yung mga bagay pero hindi direkta mismo dun sa nangyaring area, nangyaring krimen. Ibig sabihin, indirect. Yan. It's an indirect acknowledgement of guilt. Yan na. Huwag tayo malito ha. Confession is a direct acknowledgement of guilt, while the admission is our indirect acknowledgement of guilt. Yan. Ito guys, di ba minsan nagko-confess tayo? Confession in meron kasi guys, meron mga confession na hindi mo pwedeng gamitin laban dun sa suspect because tinatawag natin yung may batas kasi ito guys na kunyari, nag-confess ka sa pare. Ako po yung pumatay dun sa sa nasabing biktima. Hindi po pwedeng gamitin laban sa ito because between the parties, kaya ka nga nag-confess because nagtitiwala ka sa pare. Para sa abogado mo. Nag-confess ka sa abogado mo na ikaw talagang pumatay. Pero hindi pwedeng gamitin ng abogado mo yung sinabi mo sa kanya because of yung tinatawag na, kalimutan kong tawag din eh. Basta hindi mo pwedeng gamitin yun kung ikaw ay mag-confess dito sa mga sa pare, sa abogado. Yan. Kasi you accepting the guilt of yourself. But this confession does not require na pwedeng gamitin laban sa'yo. Yan, sa interrogation process natin. Kinds of confessions. May iba't ibang uri po ng confessions. extrajudicial confession. Pag sinabi natin extrajudicial confession, it's made by the suspect during custodial investigation. This is simply explained as confession made outside the court of law. Diba, during the time of our previous president Duterte, extrajudicial confession is very wide. Ito po talaga ginagamit to. Outside of the custodial investigation natin, process natin. And extrajudicial confession, nagkaroon po kasi ng issue dito. No? Kasi nauso din yung extrajudicial killings. Judicial confession is made by the accused in an open court. The plea of guilt may be during arraignment or any stage of the proceedings where the accused changes his plea or not guilty to guilty. Yan. Sa judicial confession, we do this in an open court. Diba? Yan. Extrajudicial killings. Kasi dati uso-uso, diba? Judicial confessions. Custodial interrogation or investigation. Ito muna natin dito, guys.